and welcome to the Kemetic How-To Guide for Egyptian Pagan and Kemetic practitioners. I'm your host, Sharon. Last episode we talked about the ankh symbol and what does that mean. And we mentioned that next issue we would be talking about the Eye of Horus. So, what is the Eye of Horus, also called the Ujat? The Eye of Horus, first of all, I've had a few people see this and they ask me about my Eye of Ra. That's a little bit of a misnomer. Eye of Ra was more of a title. It was a role that was played by certain goddesses. These goddesses were the daughter of Ra, the sun god, and typically it would be either Bastet, Sekhmet, Mut, or Hathor. And they were acting as the sun god's enforcer. Or in other cases, you had versions where it was in the creation story, one of Ra's eyes, who was the goddess. Tefnut is also one who factors into this. She goes off into the desert, and when she comes back, he's replaced her, and so she becomes angry, and there's a whole myth cycle involved with that. And most of the time, it's a feline goddess, a goddess with a lion avatar. And Bast was originally portrayed with a lioness's head. She didn't develop the cat head until later. There's a very good video that Egyptian has on it. Anyway, the Eye of Ra is, not the same as this, which is the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus, early in Egyptian history, and when I say that, we're talking about when the country was first unified under, a pharaoh, a king of Upper and Lower Egypt, up through the Pyramid Age, past the time when the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx at Giza had been built. During this early period, the preeminent god of the sun and the sky was actually Horus. And Horus's eyes were seen as the sun and the moon. And of course the moon has a cycle of waxing and waning. And the Egyptians interpreted that as his eye was being attacked or eaten. It was wounded, and when it was waning, and it was healing and finally, restoring. The sound eye was the full moon. And according to that story, it was Set that was attacking his eye, and Set was his brother in this early version. You'll often hear Horus in that aspect, his early aspect, referred to as, a lot of websites put it as hair wear. I think a prettier way to say it would be Horur, which means Great Horus, or often it's translated as Elder Horus. But he took on a new role when the worship of Osiris gained prevalence. And of course, Horus became the good son of Osiris. And he lost the eye in battle with Set, who was his uncle by that point. Remember, every family has a creepy uncle. So, Horus lost an eye, and it was restored by Tot, better known as, among Kemetics as Jehuti, who restored it and gave it back to Horus. Horus, in turn, gave this eye to Osiris as an offering. And so, the Eye of Horus came to symbolize offerings to the dead, but also had kind of a motif of, good versus evil. And by the way, I'm sure there are some followers of Set out there that, would take issue with this story. I'll try and do another segment on Set later on, because he kind of deserves his own discussion. But anyway, there's a story from Deir el-Medina, which is the workers' village for the artisans who worked on the royal tombs. And there was a troublemaker named Paneb who had done several different things. He had supposedly slept with a whole bunch of women in the village and had disrupted some other folks when they were trying to make offerings in their family chapel, and was just a general miscreant. And somebody in the records from the village was quoted as accusing this gentleman and saying that he was acting like the Ujat, which meant that this person was playing God. He was playing by his own rules. because the Ujat symbolized, the divine power of, righteousness, Ma'at. It had kind of a tie to that. And that's the reason why I wear this Ujat, which, I got it also a long time ago. And to me, it does symbolize, the struggle of good versus evil, and, good winning in the end, that sort of thing. It was also a very popular amulet, in Egyptian times. And it was worn by king and commoner alike. What's interesting is you'll see tablets with people who are offering to deceased relatives. These probably went in personal shrines in people's houses. Whereas the king would have one where you saw the sun disk and then the wings of Horus of Behdet coming out to either side. Commoners and nobility more often would have the sun disk, and there would be a wing going over where the gods were, because that was their prerogative. But on the side where the humans were, you would have an Eye of Horus. And by the way, another really good illustration. There you go. That's a good Eye of Horus there. You'll see on, all sorts of places in metaphysical shops and, wherever. There's kind of a looser version of it. I don't have any pictures of it here. It always looks a little tacky to me, but there's like the Valley Girl version of the Eye of Horus. If I find it somewhere, I'll have to give you a link. But the Eye of Horus really, I think, represents Egyptian religion as a symbol. Christians have the cross. Judaism has the Star of David. Islam has the crescent and the star. I think if you wanted a symbol to represent Egyptian religion, I think the Eye of Horus would probably be the most recognizable, and it touches on so many major themes that you find in Egyptian religion. So that's why I thought it was rather odd, as I talked about last issue, where somebody noticed my ankh symbol, but they didn't say anything about the Eye of Horus. I thought that was kind of funny. So, in previous episodes, I've talked about my book, and you should go and buy it. But I also wanted to mention, there's a forum that I set up. It's also called Following the Sun. Yeah, real creative. But I'll provide a link for that, and this is meant for anyone to talk about. You can be Kemetic Reconstructionist, Tamarin Wicca, Isian, doesn't matter. If you're interested in Egyptian religion, come in and talk. I've got a few people from Australia and Great Britain there. We're looking for more folks. Come join us. I'll include a link. And I also have a website. It's a virtual shrine to Tutankhamun. And I've got a little bit of information on Egyptian holidays. I'm hoping to update that because I just got some more information recently. And, a few selections from ancient texts. If you want to see some other things, if there's some information that you want that isn't out there, let me know. Message me and I'll try to find it and I'll put it on that site for you. So, I'll post those links there, and if you've got any place that you want to plug, just let me know and we'll share links. So, hopefully this will help you with your Kemetic or Egyptian pagan practice and put you in touch with some other people. So in the meantime, for the Kemetic How-To Guide, this is Sharon wishing you Senebti.